Cultural Mix, an exciting buying and showcasing cultural diversity across the world through music, interviews, and lively discussions. Join Bev Moonchild on Fit FM 96.7, Fridays 6 to 8 p.m. Cultural Mix, everything cultural. Tune in. Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music.
You have got to give. Yes, I'm standing 10 feet. Know yourself, know your roots, know your culture. You're in tune to Cultural Mix with Bev Moonchild and Fit FM 96.7. Fridays, 6 to 8 p.m. Aymara said that. No way, no way. Never let it make you wear a frown. Well, you are only one life live. So your best shot, you've got to give. Yes, I'm standing 10 feet tall, standing 10 feet tall, standing 10 feet tall. I'm standing 10 feet tall, standing 10 feet tall, standing 10 above them all. Well, things may not be like you want them to be. Yes, so be wise. You got to tread carefully. Well, there may be obstacles in your way. Just remember, Rome wasn't built in one day. I'm standing 10 feet tall, standing 10 feet tall, standing 10 feet tall. I'm standing 10 feet tall, standing 10 feet tall, standing 10 above them all. Know yourself, know yourself, know your roots, know your culture. Know yourself, know your roots, know your culture. You're in tune to Cultural Mix with Bev Moonchild and Fit FM 96.7. Fridays, 6 to 8 p.m. Aymara said that. You keep your sanity. Yes, facing all kind of constraints every day. In this life, your dues you've got to pay. Yes, I'm standing 10 feet tall, standing 10 feet tall, standing 10 feet tall. Well, I'm standing 10 feet tall, standing 10 feet tall, standing
10 above them all. I'm standing 10 feet. You know, me can't go up so high now, Julia. 2023, me still not get the high part yet, but me I'll get it soon. Pretty much. A little before 2025, I'll get the high part. But we are still standing tall in 2023, and I'm saying Akwaaba. Welcome everyone, welcome one, welcome all. It's Cultural Mix, and I am Bev Moonchild, your host, and we are in the studio of Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music. And we are happy that you can join us this evening. And we want for those who are joining us to share the program. We have an interesting, and when we say interesting, it means very, very, very absolutely interesting this evening. We are talking period power, right? For long too much, we have been made to feel shame about our monthly cycle. And this evening, we're going to be putting period in perspective. How about that? PPP, putting period in perspective, right? And we are going to be talking to the one and only Sheba Womb Fire. I call her Sister Nanny. Some people call her Shirley Lindo, and other people call her other names, right? So she is ready to join us. And guess what? We are not going to be wasting no time because lots of things to talk about. So we are going to welcome welcome you. How are you, my sister, my auntie, my friend? Sister Sheba, how you doing?
I am very blessed.
We're
Oh,
seeing
hold
you.
on a minute. You're seeing me, but you're not hearing me. Hold
I
on.
am hearing you
Can you
loud and
can you?
clear. Loud and
Oh,
clear.
you
We are
hear
hearing
me?
you.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yes,
I'm getting a
man.
signal here.
But just
Yes.
a little so we can see
Yes.
more of your upper body, more of your face. Just adjust the camera a little,
Okay.
but we are hearing you
Okay.
loud and clear.
Okay.
Ah, there
Let
you
me.
go,
I
my
am.
sister. Welcome, welcome,
Oh, you are so.
welcome, welcome,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank
Yes,
you. Thank you, my dear, for your
yes,
good
yes, yes,
welcome. Welcome to all
yes.
the women, all the womb bearers, all the ancient women, all the young women emerging, all the women within the cycle of life, bringing forth life, bringing all the women who are suffering from the challenges of the womb. Welcome aboard, and may the spirit of the feminine bless you and guide you in whatever stage of womanhood you now exist. Welcome, everyone.
Wow, you make me here start raise already, Sister Nanny, as you talk about the different levels of womanhood. Um, I thought about a lot of things when I was preparing to talk with you this evening, and a lot of things run through my mind, right? For centuries, for years, as women, we have been made to feel a way about our monthly cycle. We have been made to feel as if it is sinful. We have been made to feel as if it is something that we should be embarrassed about. And there is more to period than meets the eye. This evening we're going to be talking about it. Before we get into that, I want for you to just talk to me quickly about the different levels, the levels of womanhood.
Um, Remember, womanhood begins at the first period. The children are
Ah,
now because of technological advancement, GMOs and everything. A child can
mm-hmm.
have a period at 9, and from you
Wow.
can bring forth life. You have entered the process of becoming a woman or being a woman. So the
Mm-hmm.
stages of womanhood begins at puberty, when the
Right.
child blooms forth into her physical awareness of the breast to nurture, the hips to carry the womb, the stronger legs to hold the belly when it swells to 9 months. And the woman
Mm-hmm.
is being prepared physically. And we have focused so much on the physical, but we have forgotten the spiritual preparation. So here's the young
Mm-hmm.
woman emerging. And sometimes the emergence is not healthy, it is not nurtured, it is not celebrated, it is cowered down under a darkness sheet. Now you just reach a stage where you can shame the family because you got breed. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact of bringing forth life is not celebrated. The next stage
Mm-hmm.
of womanhood is
Mm-hmm.
when you actually bring forth that child, whether inside of or outside of a relationship. You now become a
Mm-hmm.
mother and therefore take
Mm-hmm.
on a lot of physiological and spiritual responsibility because you become the nurturer of an offspring, of a child, whether female or male. And I personally believe that your duty deepens because you take on a duality of roles. You are a mother
Mm-hmm.
to a man and you're a mother to a woman. So you have
Mm-hmm.
in your care a girl who will herself emerge to be a woman. You have in your care a man that you have to set his foundations properly so he can become a balanced man and be able to interface with women in a balanced way. And then you have the third stage or the
Mm-hmm.
fourth stage of womanhood. The stage of womanhood when you have passed your years of carrying forth life, whether sometimes by choice, me no want more than one, or by genetics, not genetics, physiological
Mm-hmm.
changes. This is when your period stops. And then this is the
Mm-hmm.
world time when they mark you off. They
Mm-hmm.
just mark you off. You're not hot, you're not young, you dry up, you
Mm-hmm. You're
flop
done.
down
You're
the
done
way,
now.
you're done now. But unbeknownst to many,
Mm-hmm.
this is where you are reborn. This is where you are
Mm-hmm.
rejuvenated. This is where you're called to
Mm-hmm.
higher service. And it has nothing to
Mm-hmm.
do with a wrinkle on your face. It has something to
Mm-hmm.
do with the strength of your spirit and the character that you carry as a woman. And it is now your turn to look over your shoulder and nurture your sisters that are coming up
Mm-hmm.
in the line.
Mm-hmm.
You now
Mm-hmm.
transfer the energies that used to move you to high sexual energy are now
Mm-hmm.
transferred into spiritual energy, which you are able to educate, nurture, care, keep them secret for them,
Mm-hmm.
help them across the bridge, bless them, bless them, bless them. And then you go
Mm-hmm.
into the deeper crone. When you become the crone, you may choose to take unto yourself a feminine based, earth based female practice, whether it is through the herbs, whether it is through the music and the drumming, whether it is
Mm-hmm.
be through the spoken word, but you embody within yourself the
Mm-hmm.
entire knowledge of what you have gathered from day one to that point. It's a
Okay.
fabulous journey. It's a good journey.
One of the levels that you spoke about was that level of motherhood. When you
Yes.
become a mother, what about the females who have not become mothers, will not become mothers? How does that level, where do they fall where that level is concerned? How, what happens?
The fact that you have not brought forth life, maybe I had one of the most fabulous persons I've ever had in my life was a woman who didn't bring forth life. She had no children.
Mm-hmm.
However, she gave me all the nurturing that she would have given to her own flesh daughter was given to me. And it
Mm.
came to me at a time when I desperately needed it. And
Mm-hmm.
when I had a disconnect from my own blood family, my blood
Mm-hmm.
mother, that woman embraced me. And whatever she would have given to her daughter was given to me. And it
Mm-hmm.
was the most wonderful thing. So what I'm saying is the bringing forth of life does not the lack of that does not take you away from motherhood. Motherhood can be expressed in many ways, and I can think of so many women, so many
Mm-hmm.
wonderful, kind women, women who have raised children and children and children that are not their own, raised them into manhood and womanhood. And I'm now watching a brethren who is actually raising girls not of his own, in the most wonderful way. The fact that you have not, whether you have not, and I would not use the word blessed, because when you
Mm-hmm.
say blessed, then it brings the opposite of cursed. As long as you have not been through that process, then, so to speak, whether you're unable to or you choose not to, the fact of nurturing is seated within
Mm-hmm.
your womb. It is seated within your holy Shekinah.
Mm-hmm.
It is the seat of life that sits at the belly, the warmth of your belly that you hold up when you hear say something happened to the picnic them, and you grab it up. And when you
Yeah.
see something and it hurts you, you go, you know, babe, you know that there. It is seated your womb, and it carries that life. The life exists there, and I refer to
Mm-hmm.
I refer to it as the water of life. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and let me tell you something. When my water, I am a mother, I'm a grandmother, but I became a mother very young. I became a
Mm.
mother before I knew what it was about. I wasn't really
Wow.
up on no look out no picnic. I was so fascinated by this fabulous black man, and I had wonderful children. So I learned the process
Mm-hmm.
of the expression of motherhood after the fact of becoming a mother. But and I did my very best, and I'm telling you
Mm-hmm.
right now, I'm still in the process of learning. Blessed be my children who are so tolerant of me. But the point I'm making is that it go transversely. Even though I've brought forth life, there are some who say, Lord Shirley don't know nothing about mother. Yeah, I have a couple of people
Mm-hmm.
that would tell you that because I do not fall in the stereotypical branches of mother. You
Mm.
understand? We know about so many people, babe. Look at the lady, what's she name again? Who look after so much picnic. She nurtures them. She
Who?
cares for them. I don't remember her name, but she's
Mm-hmm.
very famous and she's from Spanish Town or something like that. And she looks after lots of children and she doesn't have any
Yes.
of her own. Don't remember her name. And I think you remember
Mm.
once you think about it. But the point I'm making is the ability to nurture is within your womb. Let me give you an example. I know a
Mm-hmm.
very wonderful woman who's been in my family for 18 years. And after my
Mm-hmm.
mother died, she's a sort of nurturing figure among us. And
Mm-hmm.
her life began as a mother when she was 11, when her mother died,
11.
leaving us 11. Her mother died at 11, leaving a 6 months old baby and 7 other children. And she became the mother.
At
She
11.
became the At 11, she became the mother and did a
Mm-hmm.
very good job, back to back,
Mm-hmm.
side to side with her father, who was a very good man. Yes, and
Mm-hmm.
she raised her
Mm-hmm.
sisters and brothers. So mothering may not have necessarily have something to do with the fact that you push out a child. You know what I mean? Or whether you have it by cesarean, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The fact of
Yes.
not having bring forth life
Mm-hmm.
does not take you away from the ability to mother or being
Mm-hmm.
called a mother.
Mm-hmm. Ye- Sister Nani, the
Mm-hmm.
journey of being mother and
Mm-hmm.
that which has allowed many women, several women, hundreds of women, thousands of women to be able to bear a child is the cycle, the monthly cycle
It
that
is.
we refer to as
It is.
period. I was talking with you and you said to me, Bev, period is the holy sanctum of God.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
that is where
Mm-hmm.
we begin to hold it, we accept it as that. We begin to ourselves in our tone.
Yes.
I want for you to
This
talk
is
to us.
where,
Why did you refer to the
well,
period as
let me
the
let
holy
me start.
sanctum?
It is the place where God meets the woman. It is the place where spiritual energy and physical energy meets. I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I was growing up, I was lucky enough to be raised on a huge farm in the hills of Saint Anne, wild and
Mm-hmm.
free. Like, I mean, really, I was as wild as you come. And my wild
Mm-hmm.
years were ended, abrupt, done, top, when I had my period. My
Really?
mother would lock me up. Of course, you can't go a bush, you can't ride donkey, you can't chase cow, you can't shoot bird, you can't swim in a
Mm-hmm.
pond. I was free to do all those things right there behind my brother. I was a super tomboy. I remember
Mm-hmm.
at one stage I remember one time my father tried to ground me and he burned all my shorts. He just gathered them up together and set them on fire. And, and I said, oh yeah. And I went and sewed some more. Cut all
Mm-hmm.
my skirts and sewed some more. Nobody could keep me inside. I think it was so unfair to be locked away from nature. But when I had my period,
Mm-hmm.
life changed. I couldn't I couldn't spend hours in the bush with my brothers anymore. And there was all of a sudden the world shifted. And why was this? What is this about? And let me tell you, Beverly, I hated that thing. I absolutely hated it
Mm-hmm.
because it restrained me. It put me into a zone that I was totally foreign to. And no one prepared me for this. No one told me
Mm-hmm.
that. Nobody told me anything. I got these funny things to wear. And in those days, you were wearing
The
the
cloth.
pins and
The
the
cloth where you have
belt,
to
yes,
wash.
and the pads that you loop over the elastic and all of that. And let me tell you, one time I was in
Buff up the
boarding
mind and
school.
this one.
Lord ma, buff up bad. And you never had no size for choice, and they never have wing for fly. Then they just stay one place and then in CFX, right? So here I am in boarding school, right? My mother gives me this
Yes.
pack of things. My mother gives me this pack of things. And she said, I'm packing my many suitcases. And she just put it
Mm-hmm.
in the special, she put it in the special one. So I said, what that? Anyway, nobody not tell me nothing, I don't business.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to school,
Mm-hmm.
there was this girl from New York who was there. She just came off the plane and came to school. And she ended up one morning asking for pads. What name, so? You don't know Shirley Lindo, you don't know pads. I don't know nothing name, so. And when she described it, I ran into my special suitcase. I said, you mean this? She said, yes. I said, this is what you
Mm-hmm.
want? She said, yes. And I just threw it and gave it to her. I said, take it. I don't know what to do with it. Take it. Anyway, it so happened that we were lucky to have a nurse visit us. The nurse had come in
Mm-hmm.
to tell us about this bloody thing called periods. And it
Mm-hmm.
dawned on me, shoot, you have just thrown away the thing that you're going to need. I'm stuck now with just this little belt thing. So I ran and got my samples. Bev, 2 days
Mm-hmm.
later, if something come down upon me, and here I am, starting my wonderful life as a woman on samples.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh shit,
Samples.
this is, yes, samples. You know, they give you out, they give it to you in school, and every girl gets 2 or 4.
Yes, I
Then I
know.
had to go to, you know
Yes,
what I
I
mean?
know.
It just
Yes, you
happened.
get
I said, oh my God. It became
yes, yes, yes.
significant to me. And I said, I tell you, I don't like this. No, I didn't like it after, because that's how I started
Mm-hmm.
on these samples, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so here I
Yes.
am with my samples, and we are doing PE. You know, I'm very
Mm-hmm.
agile, I'm very athletic, I can do all the stretches and so on. And nobody told me to, you're having your period, you have this belt, don't swing your feet so, Shirley, calm yourself down. I swing my foot and I do what I do, and I became the laughing stock of the day because my belt was showing. Number two,
Mm-hmm.
number two, you know. Number
Mm-hmm.
three, I began to hate this bloody thing. And Beverly, believe
Mm-hmm.
me, I hated it for a very long time in my growth period. And until I began to notice that every month it came, it stained my clothes. It would only
Mm-hmm.
come when I'm planning to go out and have fun. It would only come when I wanted to go to the beach. It would only
Mm-hmm.
come and anything me put on, whether white frock, black frock, blue frock, and it lasted a long time, even after I had children.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am, I'm in London, and I said to myself, no, 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 this cannot go on much further. You
Mm-hmm.
know, those were my cantankerous days. I don't think I'm any less cantankerous, but those days I used to. I am sort of nomadic, and I sort my own counsel. I say I'm going to sort out this thing. I
Mm-hmm.
want to know what it is. I want to know what it
Yeah.
is. So I went
Mm-hmm.
in search of books. Those days the
Mm-hmm.
internet was just coming, but I stormed Barnes and Nobles, walk up and down until I found these books. And one of
Mm-hmm.
these books explained to me, and it said, your blood is gold. Yes,
We
that
can.
was one book. The second book was How Menstruation Jump Started Civilization. I said, what? And I read it, and it led me to reading other books on death and dying, birth and everything from the spiritual aspect. And I began to respect this thing. I
Your
began to
blood
develop
is
a
gold.
ritual. Your blood is gold. Don't ask me who wrote it, but I remember a long time I got this book and I read it. And I think somebody thieved the book from me. Anyway,
Mm-mm.
Bev, by this change of attitude, this change of consciousness, this new awareness,
Mm-hmm.
this staining stopped. I didn't
Okay.
stain my, no, Bev, I never stain my clothes anymore. It
Wow.
just stopped.
So,
It just stopped. I
so
used to
the
have the
fact that
most,
you, no, I am trying to, I'm trying to will continue to be with you with the staining and messing you up every month until you
yes,
decided to
yeah, yeah,
accept yourself in
yeah,
your
yeah,
total self,
yeah,
which would
yeah. And
include
to, yes,
this gold that you would have with
this
you every
gold,
month.
this gold that I have been blessed with every month,
Mm-hmm.
this blessing,
Mm-hmm.
this sacrament, this you see the
Magic and
feminine, this
magic.
magic and this wonder. So I
Yes.
transferred the energy that, yeah, I used to have against this thing into a sacrament and acceptance, and I began to explore various ways, you know, trying to choose my sanitary pads in a different way, keep them in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I tried tampons, but I stayed away from it after a while. I became I'm a traditional woman, really. I'm very traditional. And so I really entered into it. I really did.
Mm-hmm.
And in becoming conscious of it, I began to be conscious
Mm-hmm.
of the earth, the cycles of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And for more than
Mm-hmm.
anything, I became conscious of the moon and became
Yes, we're going to
conscious.
talk about. Hold on,
Yes,
Sister Nanny. We're going to talk about the cycle of the moon, because
yes,
from what I was researching,
yes.
I found out that healthy women
Mm-hmm.
would would ovulate at the full moon.
Yes.
And
The
what I read was that the bleeding now would start with the new moon.
mm-hmm.
And healthy, by healthy I mean eating the right food, having your
Mm-hmm.
meditation and so on. That would become healthy woman. And so the healthy woman really was with the cycle of the moon. We're going to talk about
Mm-hmm.
that. I want to read for you something that Michelle is on, and she says, that's how I started mine. Samples from high school. She's referring to the
Yes,
samples that you
yes,
got.
yes, yes. Is that me alone? Yes, yes, yes.
Not you alone.
No,
Started with
Miss
the
Michelle,
samples.
Michelle, I didn't know what to do. Thank God for the two Safex. It was something else. Me, there I go.
The
Yes, ma'am.
samples.
I thank God I have
Yes.
company. Samples, yes,
There was a
yes.
response from Tavia, but I missed that one. She's
Mm-hmm.
enjoying the levels of womanhood that you were talking about earlier. So
Yes,
Tavia is
yes.
on. Thank you much, Tavia, for joining us. And the women who are on, Michelle with Kehe, we're asking you to share the program, because this has everything to do with every woman who has a period, and even those who don't, and men too, for them to understand the
Oh, yes.
sacredness of period and the
Oh,
power and the
yes.
mystery and the magic of
Mm-hmm.
period.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to
Mm-hmm.
talk about now how we coincide with the moon cycle. And that is where the mystery is going to fall.
Okay, let me take you back. Let us go back to ancient
Hmm.
woman. Ancient woman,
Yeah.
especially in Africa, women were part of tribes that were hunter gatherers. That means they were not in
Hmm.
settled communities. They would range across the
Hmm.
savannah from place to place, living off of the land. They may settle for a short time, but there was no
Hmm.
structured building and stability. They were nomadic. Now, can you
Hmm.
imagine a woman being nomadic and having a period on the move? And the men
Hmm.
would, oh God, what is wrong with her? Um, they would have to make bowers in the trees to put the women up so that they wouldn't attract the animals at night, you
What?
know. Yes, that if you're bleeding, they never have no Safex. They would use moss. They would use
Hmm.
balls of moss, soft moss, and pad it into their loincloths and to absorb the blood. But there was blood, there is blood. So it would
Hmm.
attract animals, wouldn't it? Wild animals. So the women were put up on in the higher parts of the trees as a protection by the men.
Hmm.
Then the men began to realize that during their trek, the women needed this every so often.
Hmm.
Every so often, then they counted 28 days, not so? 21, between
Yes.
21 and 28 days,
And
right?
28. Yes. Uh-huh.
And then they looked up and then they said, but it's the same
Wait.
time that the moon is in the sky.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? So the connection
Yes.
began to happen. And if you look into
Mm.
Neolithic and Stone Age caves, you'll notice that there are markings on the walls counting off these 28 days.
Hmm.
So basically, they would have stayed
Okay.
in that place, counting the days until this thing would happen. And then it was only after that that they could move on. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And there is your
Yes.
calendar. There is your lunar
Yes.
calendar, your menstrual calendar, and ergo, the present calendar we are using. They may have added 2 or 3 days, but it's the
Hmm.
basis. February does have 28, doesn't it?
Yes.
No, I remember I teach my daughters from the primitive methodologies. I do not wish to have modern schizophrenic daughters, so my daughters are taught the anciency. And when I told my
Hmm.
daughter lives in London, and she said, "Mommy, you're giving me trouble." I said, "What is it, babe?" She said, when I tell my friends that their periods are connected to the moon, they laugh me to scorn, mommy, and say, not no go so. Because guess what? They
Really?
can't even see the moon. They can't even see the moon.
Oh.
The preponderance of electric lighting, modern agriculture, GMOs in your food, artificial
water,
estrogen, all sort of something. Cycles go where they want to go. You understand? However, the cycle still remains within the continuity of life. Like nature doesn't change. But the reason why it's not, as people are not aware of it, or science may say that it doesn't happen, is because we have thrown ourselves totally out of the rhythm of life. You know, the rhythm of Mother Earth. Because these patterns were set by the Mother Goddess, by God Himself, in order to keep our lives in order and synchrony, so that we become aware of not only ourselves, but nature and the power of nature. Because that's what keeps us, that's what cares us. So we now know that the moon, and the word menstruation comes from the root word meaning moon. The Greeks, and all those ancient traditions knew that the cycle of life, and there's another thing that says lunatics go with the moon also. That's why them say.
Yeah.
That's why the science. That's why they want to face it with me and tell me about when we have a period, we go crazy, don't they? Don't they say
yes,
that?
They do say.
Oh Lord, she's
that.
PMSing. She's PMSing.
Yes. And it's that time of the month.
It is not PMSing, my dear children, my sisters, my mothers. It is the life calling unto you. But because your rhythm and your patterns are out of sync, it comes to you jumbled. You're not connecting. It is like you're putting, the beat of a drum into something that is going like this. You get what I mean? So it throws us off, and it manifests as, oh, I feel sick, I'm in a night, I'm in a that. But if you slow down, if you gave yourself time, of course you're gonna say to me, what you talking about, Shirley? May I have to go to work? Yes, you have to go to work, but you can work in a mindful way. You can keep a rhythm. It's a time when, in the anciency, we were blessed to go away. We were blessed, and we were blessed that we could take up our baskets, we take up our weaving, we take up our stories, we take up our stones, and we would be sent away to a special hut where we all would gather, and the women would weave the life of the village right there. They could solve all the village problems. They would. This is a time when, in keeping themselves quiet, not eating much, because they don't have big fires, they would now go into a more vegetarian-based diet, because it's the men who are more the meat eaters. You know, the women would go into special herbs, and they would drink certain herbs at this time. And also there was a special place that was sanctified for them to bathe. So they were in touch with the earth. You understand? And the men would stand guard. The men would stand guard over the hut, but they would stay very far, because as what kind of creature can bleed for 7 days and not dead? If a man went into battle and got wounded and bled for 7 days, he's gone. That's magic. That's absolutely
He would
magic.
die. He would die. He would die several times over. It is magic, and it is mystery. It is even esoteric, you may want to call it.
Yes. But it is part
Sister Nanny, take a little break.
Yes, of course.
We're going to take a break and come back as we talk about the mystery and the magic, and some may say even esoteric, of the period. We come back. Cultural Mix, Bev Moonchild, Fit FM 96.7. Diana Wright, we're listening to you. Blessings and honor.
Can you thank you for the big things when the little things don't mean much? Can you thank you for the sunshine when you cannot stand the rain? I thank you for your feeling If you've never felt no pain, when will you learn to appreciate these little things in life? Oh, Father, please give me a heart like a soldier. Lord, I won't missing no blessings and honor, glory and power due to the Holy Lord God Jehovah. Blessings and honor, glory and power due to the Holy Lord God Jehovah. Father, please give me a heart like a soldier. Lord, I won't missing no blessings and honor, glory and power due to the Holy Lord God Jehovah. Blessings and honor, glory and power due to the Holy Lord God Jehovah. Father, please give me a heart like a soldier. What if the ocean should run dry right before your eyes? The mountains should disappear and the earth moved under your feet. What if the doctor said you won't get well? Did he make it from the clay? What if the wind should cease from blowing? Don't he hold it in his hand? Oh, Father, please give me a heart like a soldier. Lord, I won't missing no blessings.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to Cultural Mix. Bev Moonchild here, your host, and we are in the studio of Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music. We are talking period. We are putting period in perspective. We go with the moon. The moon cycle is the same as the period cycle. It should be. But as we are talking with our guest, Sheba Moonfire, otherwise known as Shirley Linda, Sister Nanny, or any other name, because of modern societies really have caused women to be out of sync, out of cycle with the moon, and therefore not embracing and not in touch with their total woman self. Sister Nanny, welcome back. Thank you. We are learning here this evening, and we understand the magic as we continue to talk with you. Earlier, you mentioned that it's a time where God meets the woman. God meets the woman. I want for you to explain that a little for us, and then we're going to go back to talking about that period, this time when this what 7 days, 5 days for some, might be a little longer for some, but this period, it's a time of expansion, a time of creativity, a time when talents come on a high, a time when we understand, and a time when we become more than what some of us even think we are able to do. That's if we are in tune with ourselves. I want you to talk a little more about God meeting the woman, that point where God meets the woman. Explain to us a little.
A woman is a sacred creation of God. The woman was created as the last element of creation, as God, so to speak, practiced on plants and animals and trees and rivers, and then he made man. And him look at him say, hold on a little bit. I'm going to make something to fix you. And we were called help meet, according to the Christian Bible. And he made woman. And in making us, we are at the pinnacle of his creation. And he endowed us within our bodies from the day on which we were born with the eggs of life. We carry within our ovaries all the eggs that have the potential of bearing life. So now, what is menstruation? Menstruation is God knocking on your door. My daughter, it is time. And the egg is there. And you cohabit with a man. And if the compatibility of orgasm and physical exchange is translated into a spiritual communion, a child can be born. If there is no if there is no connection with the male, and the woman, that egg sits there, and there is no response to that egg for a period of time, the body begins to do like a dance. It fluffs itself up and it begins to shed, to take, and the Spirit of the Most High says, not this week, not this month, my daughter. However, when the egg goes out, it goes out in your period blood, something else comes in. As below, so above. Something comes
What
in.
comes
It
in?
is a replacement of the essence of God. Because that essence you are holding in your body for the potential. Now, I don't know about most people, but you see me, you see when the moon shine, me just shine. And may I tell you,
Yeah.
so during the days of during the fecund years of my life, when I could bring forth life, when I was in the Pinka farm, when when the moon rose, so did I. And so therefore the moon pulls up in me all my gen energies and my juices. I am bursting forth. And it was so powerful that I used to have a special red dress in my wardrobe that I wear during moon time. And I was walking on air. I was the ultimate female, the power goddess of life. However, at this my age now, when the moon rises, I wear white. And I still pour forth energy. But this energy that I pour forth is not sexual, it is spiritual. Because the energy that
Knowledge,
has been
knowledge, knowledge.
given unto me to carry the sacred seeds of life in my ovary has now been translated into spiritual energy that I use to bless God, serve God, bless my community, serve people, nurture, care for children, educate my grandchildren, assist my sisters and brothers, and stand like a whole woman beside my man.
So in
So,
your whole self, Sister Nanny, at this time, as you say, at this time of your life, when that period would have passed, at
yes,
this time when the moon rises, it is a time when you get into yourself, embracing
yes,
your
deeper,
womanhood,
yes,
and as you say,
yes.
I'm saying, getting in touch inner wisdom. That's how it.
That is when you pull knowledge from the
Mm-hmm.
earth. That is when you pull
Mm-hmm.
knowledge from the herbs. You know, you are
Mm-hmm.
supposed to gather herbs at certain cycles of the moon, because the moon does affect the herbs. I remember the other day I missed a window. I was supposed to be gathering some dog blood, and I missed it by 2 weeks, and the moon rose on it, and it was eaten by worms, because the moon
Dog
does
blood is a
affect.
herb. Dog blood is a
Dog
herb.
blood
For
is
those
a
people who
cleansing
don't
herb.
know.
Yes, it's a cleansing herb,
Yes.
as good
Yes.
as cataflan for inflammation. And I make a special herb for women, a special medicine for women for the cleansing of the womb and fallopian tubes and bad periods and so on. So I was gonna gather my herbs, but I was out of sync and I missed it by a couple of days, like about a week. And the following week, when I went back and the moon was in a certain phase, the moon had attracted the insects, and the insects fed on the herbs. You see, because the
Mm-hmm.
herbs are now in their prime. So the moon affects the tides of the sea, and it affects
Herbs.
the tides of the earth,
Yes.
the insects of the earth, the animals of the earth, and so qualify I. You understand? So to
Mm-hmm.
say that your
Yes.
period is the opening of the Shekinah
Mm-hmm.
sitting on your crown, that
Mm-hmm.
God feeds you as He sends something out, so does He send something in. And you're
Mm-hmm.
given a blessing because you're
Mm-hmm.
in contract with Him to bring forth life,
Explain to
to
us
bring
what the
forth life.
Shekinah is. So the period opening of the Shekinah.
The Holy Shekinah is it's the seat of your womanhood. Yes, it
Mm-hmm.
is it is the deep place within you where physical meets spiritual. The act
Mm-hmm.
of bringing forth life on the earth is much, much, much more than 9 months and pushing. The act of sex,
Mm-hmm.
which is the copulation of male and female, the drawing together of opposites, is supposed to be a sacred act. And in some places, among some of my
Mm-hmm.
friends, we call it worshiping. And in fact,
Worshipping. So
before you engage in this act, you should actually give God thanks. You should
mm-hmm.
actually seal your temple gates and invite joy into yourself, the spirit of joy. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and engage in this act in a conscious way, because you are opening the inner gates of the temple and allowing another to come in and make a deposit.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. That's what
you
it is.
are. Yes, that's what it is. And therefore,
Mm-hmm.
at the head of your womb, where that deposit is going to be made, that is where the
Mm-hmm.
holy fire of orgasm sparks off. That is the
Mm-hmm.
seat of your Shekinah. That
Mm-hmm.
Shekinah is the seat of the feminine knowledge. It is the seat where healing comes from. A woman, there are many women who have given up the possibility of birth and have transferred that energy into healing. That's where it comes from. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a seat, it's a belt at the top of your womb, right there. Well, between there, so bottom top, right there, so where you
Mm-hmm.
this is. And if you're conscious of yourself, you're conscious of that place different. It is the inner sanctum of the temple. And what do I call the temple? Our physical vagina is the outer walls, the outer courts of the temple. Yes, it
Mm-hmm.
is where someone is allowed to enter. Yes. However, once you pass that, you enter your sacred womb. And
Mm-hmm.
that is why I remember when I chose the name Womb Fire, I had a job. I got a real big job, Bev. And I had an email,
Mm-hmm.
Shirley Lynn, no, Womb Fire at Hotmail. And so I sent off my proposal to this woman. I said, this is what I do, this, that, blah, 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 blah. Respond to me on this email and tell me how much you're going to pay me. She said, I will never speak to anyone with such an email. I said, what?
Wow.
Do you know? I said, do you know what I've done? Do you know how long I've been? She said, I do not care. If you wish to have
Mm-hmm.
this job, you will not address me again under such an email.
Wow.
So
What
the
did you
money,
do?
the money was good. The money was good, so I changed.
To
I
change
didn't
the
speak to
email.
her. Let me change the email. Let me change the email. A girl has to eat, But what I'm saying to you, Bev,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
this is a woman. She carries a womb.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute I add the
Mm-hmm.
word fire to this womb,
Mm-hmm.
what does she read in her mind?
Womb
I will not
fire.
say it. I can't say it. I can't say it on your
You can
program.
say.
As far as she's
Okay.
concerned, I am just advertising the heat of my outer temples. We are
Okay.
not connected to our wombs.
Okay.
We are not connected to
Mm-hmm.
our wombs. We are transversing and playing and allowing all sorts of nastiness to happen in our outer courts without thinking of how it affects the sacred Shekinah and our inner temple, which is our womb,
Mm-hmm.
which is where life
Yes.
begins and life is nurtured, and you can speak to the baby and you can play music. That is not a place to be trifled with. Because the
Mm-hmm.
same man that you allow to pass your holy Shekinah or pass into your holy Shekinah deposits in there all that he has done, that he has thought, that he has prayed for,
Mm-hmm.
that he has cursed,
Mm-hmm.
is deposited in your womb. And you carry that and that seed alive sometimes for 14 days. And you carry the essence of the man. That is why when you go on the corner,
feeling nice, but
yeah,
yeah.
it's
I'm
serious.
saying you, the female, you are carrying the essence of
You
this
are
man,
carrying the essence of
everything
this
that he
man.
has deposited. And
Everything has
sometimes what
deposited
he
in
has
you.
deposited is
It's not
burdening you
good.
down. But he has
It is
gone
not good.
lighter because he has released something.
He has cleaned up. Yeah, you know, hear them say, woman vagina can clean disease. Because they know when
Mm-mm.
they enter the holy Shekinah, they come out blessed. But what do they
Mm-hmm.
leave? And it is us who have to stand guard. You know those women in Wakanda with them swords?
Mm-hmm.
And so we
Yeah.
forgot we in a womb. You see them woman
Mm-hmm.
with them something there? And so we forgot we in a temple. It's so we
Mm-hmm.
forgot our bellies because we
Mm-hmm.
are depositories. And
Wow.
also, remember, you know, he has laid down with 4 more people over that period of 14 days. And your
Mm-mm.
inner sanctum has now received the essence of all
Relatives
of
of
those
4 other
things.
people.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That is the holiness. Because your womb is programmed with life. It is
Mm-hmm.
programmed with life. It is programmed to receive life and to give life and to create life. And it
Mm-hmm.
is the holy seat of what it means to be a woman. It is the
Mm-hmm.
contract that you signed with God to bring forth life upon this earth. And it is this
Mm-hmm.
spark of God initiated through the man and the holy orgasm that brings forth this life. So, and it is not to be trifled with. It should not be. But in our society today, we can see the results of this trifling. No one has to show us. We see it. It is evident.
Sister Nanny,
It's
talk about
evident.
societies. Yes, I'm saying
Mhm.
modern society, right? As you talk about, not to be trifled with. What I am coming to understand now is that modern societies have damaged that holy place. The of
Mhm.
female has
Mhm.
been synthetic contraceptives,
Mhm.
painkillers,
Mhm.
the very thought of going to work and you're gonna have this thing with you at work. Some of the contraceptives, you don't have no period for months, and so
Mhm.
it will take you out of sync with yourself. It will
Mhm.
take you out of the rhythm of life, as you often speak. It will just
Mhm.
take you. You become a different person. You become almost a stranger to yourself.
Thank you. You become automaton.
Yes.
You are in, you see it. I'm not here preaching. I'm not all I'm expressing is what is sacred to me. It is not
Yeah.
a philosophy that's written anywhere. That has never been studied. It is just sacred to me, and it's
Mm-hmm.
something that I have lived with for a number of years, and just it's just evolved with me.
Mm-hmm.
um the thing is, however, recently, and I would, when I say recently, in the last 12 years, we have seen especially here in Jamaica, we have seen a great decline in the focus and energies of our male population. The crime rate is evident, men slaughtering women, um, the tone of our music, the tone of the media formats that we're exposed to. It's moving at a fast pace.
Mm-hmm.
The sexualization of our young girls, the use of women in advertising in
Mm-hmm.
such an excessive way, the disfiguring of women through bleaching and other commercial medical procedures,
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be a concerted effort to once again change us, commercialize us, commoditize us. I'm in a night with them. I'm in a night with them. I believe in
Said just
I
now.
believe in you were saying, Bev? Hello?
No, I'm saying we missed a little of what you said just now because the internet kind of left you for a little, but you're back with us.
Oh, okay. No, what I was saying, Bev, is that I have noticed over the last, say, 10 years, I've been back home since 98, but I've noticed a total, we've slipped down, zoom, in Jamaica. Our cultural norms, our moral norms have shifted very quickly. The feminine is being demonized very, very quickly. The sexualization of our young girls through the way they dress, the way they're exposed to pornography on the internet, the way pornography is being translated now as a norm on our streets, within our music, the way men are killing women wantonly. There are many symbols within our society that have given me cause for concern. And this says that the woman or us as women need to awaken to this and decide, what are we going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that we can do about it? Are we going to save our coming generation? Where are the women? Where are the women who are going to take their place in society? As to the different strata of women that I explained in the beginning, where are the crones? Where are the activist women who defend the communities? Yes? Where are the women who are willing to teach? Where are the women who are upholding womanhood? I believe I have a program that I do, that I did it once. I did it for a couple of years in London. It's called One Woman Talking. And it's built on the concept that me say me can chat, Bev, but I'm a firm believer in women. Me talk, me not keep it up, me talk. I'm a firm believer in women talking. There's a woman talking in a community because she knows who is raping the 13-year-old. There's a woman talking in a community because she knows where the guns are hidden. There's a woman talking in a community who knows about the corruption, but nobody pays her any mind. Because we're living in a pseudo misogynistic, anti-woman culture right now. We are fooled, and some of our sisters are fooled because of the rhetoric that we have been given. The rhetoric says, oh, fear one bigger, body bigger, breast tighter, ready, and the men are running the chessboard and the women are pawns. And when I speak, I do not speak to a specific woman. I speak to all women because the chessboard running on every side. Nobody can think say I don't get to one. And if you think about it, the mechanics of manipulation are at work. You understand? No, my question is, what are we going to do about it? For me, I believe in Sankofa. Sankofa is going back to my grandmother,
yes,
and my mother, going back to the ancients,
yes,
and receiving from them the systems and methodologies that they used to survive, to apply it in this time. You understand? Of course, you're going to call me backward. Of course, you're going to call me some out of step with the inting. I'm not interested. There's more. There's more afoot for me. There are more important things. There are more wombs to be saved than me being the inting. I'm not interested in being the inting. I'm just a woman that live in a bush that chat plenty. But I believe in the power of women. And if we talk to one another, and you know why we don't talk? Because we are victims of the systems of manipulation that men have set up. They have set us up against each other. And in the
Yes.
middle of it, our wombs are crying. We don't trust one another. Because, you know, my man give me money if you go down, so I go fix the belly and the body and me is the in thing. Yes? Him have 4 pick me out the road, but me a breed now. And when the other baby mother come, me stand up and watch him beat her. We are damaging the womb.
Yes.
The temple is one. The temple is one. What happens to one womb happens to all wombs. That is why periods are out of sync, because the wombs are unbalanced. The wombs are abused. When a man can still stay in a studio and make a song about a sexual act that is based on the length of his and the depth of your and he gets it sold in public, something wrong.
Something is wrong.
Something is wrong.
Something is wrong, my sister.
Something
is wrong.
Very wrong, babe.
The female, we have been damaged.
Yes.
And we have allowed ourselves to be out of sync with nature, to be out of sync with ourselves, to be out of sync with each other. Because as I was researching and talking with you, you had said, or I think I had read it, where when there was a time when all women used to be in sync with the moon, and there was a time when a large majority of women were having their periods together
at the same time,
and they would have gathered at the same time. Yes, and would have gathered, and in the height of their creativity and in the height of their woman self, would have done things after that period to uplift the community at that time.
The community.
We really have lost ourselves.
Yes.
And we need to resurrect from the state of shame of period into embracing what? Embracing the womb energy, as you put it. Embracing the fact that we are life creators. The womb energy, the womb fire.
The womb fire.
Yes.
The womb fire.
I did say
we need to light a new fire. Not to burn it down, but to awaken it. Not to burn down anything, but to awaken. To awaken the ancient feminine. The ancient feminine. Yes? The feminine that says if one woman is hurting. When I'm one of 12 children. Yes? And God bless my mother. She's a holy, wonderful woman. Yeah? Wonderful woman. And I remember living in a very small house, 9 of us at the time, before we moved on to that huge estate. And my mother would have a baby nearly every year.
Wow.
And I remember that you're in the next room, and then you hear the midwife come, and you smell frankincense and myrrh.
Wow.
And you see my father moving through with hot this and hot that.
Yes.
Not quite like the movies. Not quite like the movies. But in a sacred way. In a sacred way. But the most magical thing of this, and when I say this, I hope nobody no make a remark about my mother. I did not hear my mother cry. I heard the baby cry when the baby was born, the first cry, but I would not hear my mother cry. My mother knew that she had children in the next room. My mother knew that the sanctity and the holiness of her home would not be upset and her children would not be frightened in the night. And my mother didn't cry. I want to be a woman like that.
Nanny, I really want to thank you. This is deep thinking. This is deep talking. This is deep conversation. It is deep. It is information that we need to share more. It is information that we need to gather women together and share it. And I'm going to say this now, that I'm going to invite you as we continue this conversation. Because, folks, let me digress. Cultural Mix is just 1 hour as of January 2023. We go from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And so, Sister Nanny, I'm going to invite you to continue this conversation with me on the power of period and the womb energy and the womb fire that we need to reignite, and we need to embrace that part of us and to live in our total self as woman. I 1 hour
My
is not
sister.
sufficient for this kind of conversation. So I'm going to invite you. I'm going to invite you. I want to continue this conversation with you next week. We will talk if your calendar
Thank
will
you.
allow you, because this has
Thank you.
to have more than 1 hour of discussion. We don't even touch the surface yet. We don't even touch the surface. I mean, we have just touched the surface, as a matter of fact. We have not gone deep. That's what I'm to say. We just touched the surface. We haven't gone deep into how we can. Because guess what? I was reading somewhere where it said, and I think you alluded to the self, how the magic that it holds, and some scientists now are researching to see what does this have in it. Some people saying it having stem cells,
Ooh,
and there is that talk there. What does this thing contain? And it will bring us to how we deal with it. And some persons say we are to give it to the earth as a sacred fluid.
it is
We
sacred.
have a lot to talk about. Yes, we have a lot to talk
Yes,
about. I thank
yes,
you for
yes.
being here with me this evening and look forward. Well, let me read this quickly before we go. Tina Miller is saying, yes, please continue with another episode next week, Bev. I joined about 50 ago. So, she would have missed an
Mm. Mhm.
45 minutes of it. Sister Nanny, Womb Fire, Shirley Lindo, we're going to invite you back next week, Friday.
I thank you, my sister. May our wombs be
And I want to
blessed. May
thank
our
you. Yes.
wombs be healed. May all women
Mhm.
stand in the divinity of their femininity and be of service to the earth continuously. Bless you.
Bless you, my sister. Bless you,
Bless
everyone
you.
who joined us, whether you were joining us from Trelawney, or you were joining us from St. Elizabeth, or you were joining us from Clarendon, wherever it is that is from diaspora, anywhere foreign, we stay. Thank you for being with us. Come back next week as we're going to continue this conversation. And that is what we want to do for 2023. We want to bring the woman into the light. We want to bring the woman into the power. We want to bring the woman into embracing her full womanhood. And we have started off this January talking with Sister Wombfire, Sister Shirley Lindo, Sister Nanny about the power, putting period in perspective. Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. We come back next week. Bev Moonchild saying take care, and see you
Bless you.
again next week, Friday, 6 to 7, Cultural Mix. Thank you, Julia. All the very best, friends. Take care.
Just make sure you keep your singing.